revolutionary times. So what happened? We worked with them. It was beautiful. Out of nowhere, it was just gorgeous, wonderful. So let me go back. Hollywood, Intel, military. You start meeting friends, organized crime, and you have this wonderful little group. Well, they're not going away. They're making friends. They're not going to ever say, okay, well, we don't need you anymore. All right, organized crime, goodbye. We're going to go after you. That's why, if ever you want to blame one person for John Kennedy, it's Bobby Kennedy. What he did, the double cross, remember, they were going to go tell Joe Kennedy this, to tell him to back off, and he had the stroke. So, you got that? Now, here we are today. Let me tell you what I would do. If I ran the show, I would say, I want to have a bunch of people. You want to call it CIA? Fine. Want to call it military-industrial complex? Fine. You want to talk, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Whatever word works for you. Just like, what is it in Chicago? They called it the outfit or the office, and here they call it the mob or the organization or the syndicate. It's the same. Okay? It's the same. So what CIA did years ago, when they were really something, when the CIA was the CIA, they were so good. They worked with Hollywood. They funded art and MoMA and movies, and it was also a chance to work with TV. Leave it to Beaver, or as we say in French, Le Beaver. Leave It to Beaver was one of the classic anti-communist, anti-red American values. Look the mothers at home, and this it was PRBS, the 50s. CIA, absolutely. CIA used to have on its website. Listen, if you're making a movie, we'd love to see your script, and we can help you. You want to do a movie about war? Come on with us. How about a nice military? You want to go to? We used to be MacDill for Air Force Base. You want to go to an Air Force Base? You want military? We'll help you, as long as your script comports with our ideology. That's why Oliver Stone had to shoot in Nicaragua, because they said, we're not going to help you. And he had to pay for it cost a fortune. All that stuff came free if you basically complied with their message. This is old stuff. Okay, this is old. Well, now movies are kind of Remember during the 60s, remember during the whole notion of, you've heard this before, and you can research it, the Ford Foundation and the Rockefellers and women's lib and having them work and not be mothers. It goes back to that. The 60s, Tavistock, all that. I remember how everybody from Frank Zappa's father to Morris's father, it might have been a coincidence, but still, all this stuff. So what I'm telling you right now is, as I speak to this auditorium of newbies, normies, whatever you want to call them, people who need it, you have to lay the groundwork that what we're seeing now is as American as, Lexington and Concord. It's as American as Israel Bissell, who, by the way, is really the star and not Paul Revere, but I digress. So what do we have now? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I like people like, I like all these pro-military shows. Love them. Love them. Have you seen that guy? What's his name? McAfee? Or he's on with Sean Ryan a lot. This guy's like I'm sure he knows this stuff. He talks about how do you stab people, kill people, and shoot people. And is it McAfee? Big guy. It's as obvious as the day is long. So you got Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan, it's a movie. It's very popular. It's a show of contradictions. He talks about he and Tucker. Oh, I was a drunk. Oh, I was a worse drunk. Oh, I was a worse drunk. People who stop drinking, they think like they're the first person who ever stopped drinking. They're the only ones. Nobody else did it. They did it. Nobody else did. Did you ever see an annoying mother who's a mother? She invented breastfeeding. She invented making her own food. This is the annoying mother who read that book that everybody reads, My First Baby. They invented it. Well, Sean Ryan invented alcoholism or whatever it is, and military, and everybody's SEAL Team 6. Everybody's SEAL Team 6. Now, for me, that's passe. Remember, it was the Marines. Marines are boring. Just like it used to be NSA, now it's CIA. I think if you had to pick somebody, I think the most interesting are the Delta Force people, and probably a group that has no name. Remember what I've told you. If you know the name of somebody, they're not involved. It's not George Soros. And you see where Lionel Messi basically told Biden, sorry, I can't make it. I'm sorry, I had a major thing. But thank you for the honor for that president. They were just giving these things out to everybody. Denzel Washington, there was a terrible picture of him giving it out to that terrible person who set that woman on fire. I mean, they're just giving these out. Hillary, or who else? Magic Johnson, sure, what the hell? Bono, did we give it to Taylor and Bono? Who else? Anybody else? Angela Davis, Abby Hoffman, he's dead. I mean, they're just giving these serial killers. They're cleaning out. They're basically just ruining the apartment before they move out. Okay, all right. So these folks, right now, are looking at the ones who are involved. And remember, military-industrial complex, MIC, deep state, shadow government, whatever it is, they have nothing to do with who's in charge. They exist no matter what. The big money, defense contractors, this superstructure, this thing, this separate organism is like, what is it? It's like it's like you have a, do you ever notice every time, sometimes you hear about, I went to the doctor and they found this lump and they found it was a twin. I had a twin, but it never separated. Oh my God, yeah, it was a twin. All right. Well, that's kind of like this. There's this thing growing in it, so we had no idea what it was. Well, it's that thing. It's this organization. So what I want to do is give me the Sean Ryans. Have little boys just say, I want to be like those guys. Little boys who don't have fathers. Little boys who really don't know about what masculinity is. Little boys who are they've lived in a world they don't really know. They're on psych meds or this or they don't know. And this is their identification. Big guys, hairy wrists, tattoos, beards, odd beards, caps backwards, and they're all just lauding the destruction of human life. They're loving this. You see how it's perfect? That's what I want. Because for a while, the military was really bad. These people were overweight. They couldn't even give top secret clearances because people had such terrible credit scores. People were they had 30-year-old equipment. That was during Jimmy Carter that everybody loved so much. I could do more recruiting. Forget the guy. Remember in Vietnam, they always say, why were you in Vietnam? Well, because this guy came and he was a Marine and he had on this blue outfit and I loved it. You don't need that anymore. Give me these guys. Give me Sean Ryan. Give me that guy, McAfee. Talk about this. SEAL Team 6. I was Delta. I was SF. We went in and we... Now, what they're doing is they're talking about basically destroying human life, going to countries that have nothing to do with us, don't mean us any harm, and we're glorifying the fact that you can go there and take all of your homicidal rage and unleash it on these people that have never done anything to you. They've never done anything to you. Nothing. They pose no threat.
As usual, another horrifically boring Mark room. Congratulations, Mark. You've done it again.
Congratulations. You're not a human being.
Are you projecting?
But it doesn't matter. We're going to give you the okay. And then if you're lucky, you'll come back and you'll be, you got your tats, and you'll be a real He-Man because you would have done this. Now, I'm not trying to listen, we need the military, but if you can't see what's happening, you don't need an instruction. This was John Wayne did it. You know, John Wayne is one of John Wayne. Anyway, a lot of stories about. Yeah. This is all.
But he's in the motherland. He got the real shea butter and the coconut, whatever you got to do.
Isn't Hodel like 120 pounds overweight?
Who the fuck is Adrian?
You're gonna last 5 seconds. Do your thing.
Like I give a fuck. Like I give a fuck.
Who's fat?
It's Edmund, you know, the guy that likes to stream on YouTube and Instagram and everywhere else. They're all the rooms, and he has like 20 phones.
Oh, he's the one that makes the weird voices and shit.
What weird voices? I don't know.
Oh, never mind.
No, he comes into rooms and he streams them on Instagram and YouTube and to other rooms as well.
Because of autism or why?
Yeah, I guess like he loves to piss off people. Yeah, I don't know. That's his hobby. That's what he does. You go to his YouTube channel and you can see what he does there. But everybody blocks him or kicks him out of the room, and then he comes with another account, and then with another account.
And Miracle, share an address where we can send you some cocoa butter lotion, my boy. Not your fucking wallet address.
Chorizo, you're so mean.
That's what they told me. They told me that if I put in, let me put my address. Yeah, my Bitcoin address, then maybe someone can send something.
Who told you that?
Yeah, when I pop in somewhere and other people.
Who are the other people?
Yeah, I only remember somewhere with the guy with this profile that is with shiny eyes. It's not the red eye, white eye.
Richard?
Yeah, Richard, right? Richard.
The cat gravitates towards him immediately. كتير بيحبوه out of nowhere. والله يعني إشي كتير غريب.
يعني بيسموني كمان ملك القطط.
سموه ذا الكوسيكات.
هذيك اليوم قفل الشارع عشان يمرق البسينة.
سامع يا جوجو؟
بس بيكون في قطة في الشارع، okay, جوجو ما بيخلي حدا يمر. يعني nobody's allowed to even cross. Like the cat comes first. Cats come first to Vinny. That's how deep he is. I'm gonna cry.
جوجو انت شو بتحبي؟
شو بحبي شو مفهوم؟
انت شو بتحبي؟ What things do you like?
In what category?
بدي اعرف حيلا شيء.
In what category؟ ما فهمت أنا ما فهمت السؤال.
قصده what do you
انتوا على قد هبل.
what do you like?
I mean in what aspect? In what like مش فاهمة.
حيلا aspect.
بتحبي إيه في الحياة؟
يعني كتير أشياء بحب.
Remember the brand? It's Chanel. It's Hermes. Whatever it is, whatever your thing. That's what this is. And then we have this new group. There's so many people. I used to be with the CIA. Here's the way we were. This is the way we wear our shoes. We put our shoes on. This is how we interrogate. This is how you can tell somebody's a liar. When I was there, and all of these CIA people are yapping about what they did. Do you believe this? You can. I don't. I'm sure they have some affiliation. But this is all part of it. Do you see what's happening? They don't go to the movies anymore to recruit. They use this. I mean, didn't you love that? Didn't you love that when you heard that Sean Ryan, this guy talking about the way they use all that lingo, all that military lingo stuff? SIGINT, ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and all that. And oh my God. I talked to some very, very expert bomb people. That's a beautiful, beautiful group of folks. Very interesting. And their analysis is very, very methodical. But with this, everybody's an expert. That's another thing about the internet, about what this does is it makes everybody an expert, and it just feeds into people that we want. Now, this story, if two groups of people, number one, I'm not saying anything about Sean Ryan other than there's a lot of stuff about the show. It's not my cup of tea, but that's okay. Number two, this story. Now, they did say that they went and followed this up through the FBI or whatever. Okay, all right. Okay. I don't think anybody's going to come of it, but whatever. Do you think the government? I'm going to go. Now listen to this. Hello, FBI. Yes. Can I help you? Yes. What is your name, sir? Yes. And you were watching the who? The Sean Ryan. This man. Oh yes, I've heard. You're the fifth one to call today. Yes. And what about it? You want us to investigate the Chinese using gravitic propulsion systems in UAVs, and they're going to whatever Russia. Okay. All righty. I'll make a note of that. Thank you. You know what they say when you do that? You're a nut. They're going to say you are a nut. It's not going to go anywhere, because if we do have that, that's top secret or ultra secret, and we're not going to experience. We're not going to have, Jim Jordan. By the way, that waste. Has he ever solved anything? Has Jim Jordan ever done anything? Yes. Remember, it's a great movie. I hated Fauci. Did he do anything? No. Just all bluster and BS, my friends. Now, Raul says, will the PSYOP negatively impact the inauguration? As I said before, I think there's a good theory that said that may behoove them to do that. Brizin Himura says, just want to make sure we as a people have moved on from flying drones, Luigi, wars overseas, and my favorite Diddy. Moved on? Well, each of those, Brizin, each of those is important and not at all a joke. They need to go further.
Morning, John.
You know that, right?
Are you free?
There's nothing.
For
you know why nobody's talking about the great Julian Assange?
Today?
When Julian Assange, when they asked him, people were saying, why don't you think they are going to release all of the information regarding the guy whose name begins with the letter E, who had an island or two? And the answer is that if we release it's no more good blackmail or extortion. This is just mathematical. So do you think that story is it's as important now as it ever was? Of course, it's not handled that way because America loses its interest. And as you said, time to move on. Move on. That's exactly what they want. Our good friend Spandex says during World War II, Lucky Luciano was hired to protect the Brooklyn Navy Yard after the USS Normandy was destroyed. And it wasn't the Brooklyn Navy Yard. It was right here on the west side. And it was Sox Lanza. Sox Lanza was in charge of that, okay? And what happened was the Normandy capsized. And it capsized. It wasn't really any kind of German or Nazi or enemy infiltration or anything. But Lucky was up at Dannemora, which is now Clinton Correctional or whatever it was. So he got a hold, or either Meyer Lansky and others got a hold of him and said, listen, we can maybe get you out. Now, they didn't think about having him merely be deported back to Licata di Fridi, or wherever he was from in Sicily. But they said, listen, you need us to watch this. I said, okay. Sox Lanza, you're going to do this right. There will never be another sabotage. At the time, nobody really knew. But the funny part was he had nothing to do with it. He just said, okay, fine. Well, they let him out, but he was deported. Remember that one? Sparky says, things seem to temporarily cool off a little while after the church committee. No, the reported information of the church committee, just like after the Warren committee. Remember, church knows what he's doing. They'll say, okay, Frank, we'll give you your committee, but after it's done, we're not going anywhere. We're just this will assuage their fears. Andrew says, some of all fears, plot. Russia tells U.S. to stay out of former Russia's date. Dirty Bomb Schwab type character. Are we living in a movie? My dear friend, the movies are merely constitutions of things that kind of make sense. I mean, this is for example, Dexter. What's the other movie too, where they had somebody, they had the bad guy who helped out, Silence of the Lambs. This is the oldest one. That goes back to us always using bad guys. It's an old theme. You can always tell the theme. It's very interesting. Superheroes are very interesting, but they're not necessarily pro-American. Notice that? I don't know. We used to have superheroes that basically stood for something. Today, like Iron Man, the Downey Jr., what does that stand for? Speaking of Downey Jr., remember that terrible video he did, the Zoom with him and Don Cheadle? I don't know how much they paid him to do all this stuff for Kamala. Remember that? Whatever happened to these people? Whatever happened to Kerry Washington and Robert De Niro and other? Remember that? They are what used to be called the Hollywood elite, working with deep state, shadow government, whatever it is, the people in charge, the elite in charge. Things are changed now drastically. See, there are so many of us. See, the thing is that there's two things going in our favor. Number one, the left is profoundly stupid. But number two, they don't know it's over. They don't understand this. So, going back to what I'm saying, I want people to start off by saying, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our summer class. We're going to introduce you. Let's start off with a Pledge of Allegiance. Let's remember we are Americans. We are Americans. And this is our instruction book. And we do a little class on the Constitution because people think they know it and they think you can read this. And so you can read this all day long. It doesn't tell you anything. It's the interpretation of it that matters. But anyway, this is who we are. We're not movies and Fox News and whatever it is. The thing we have to also do is you have to disabuse yourself of this thing called the truth. Stop using the word the truth. Your truth is your truth, may not be mine. Truth is perception. Truth is this wonderful thing that people think, I just want the truth. No, it's true. You really can't handle the truth. And really, you really, how do I say this? You really don't, truth gets you in trouble a lot. Now, I will tell you one thing about this, which is very important. Of the left, couple rules. The left stick together. On the right, and I'm just going to use these terms for shorthand, they are absolutely, positively the most dysfunctional group of people you have ever met in your life. Steve Bannon going after Elon Musk. He claims that X is now a social credit score. Why? Steve Bannon is interested in one thing. What do you think that is? Steve Bannon. Surprise, surprise. Everybody does that. It's about show business. The internet or streaming is about entertainment. And there was a certain caption. He comes across, he wears the same jacket, this this thing must stand up by itself. I hope he gets it cleaner. He has others, but he has this, this ruddy gray, and he talks in this stuff, and it's a kind of and you might like it. He's like, Alex Jones did this way before it was popular. Alex Jones really was the father of that. He was the Chuck Berry of this. I mean, everything we're doing, all the chord structures are reminiscent of him. And before that, there was chords of things like Father Conlon, which has nothing to do with this, but there was always the Firebrand and these people, Joe Pine, and other people who really came out of the woodwork. Sparky says people don't need to be thank you, Jeff, or insiders to know what's going on. DC think tanks publish what's coming up, but MSM pays it no mind. Brian Berletic of the New Atlas curates it well. Well, I'll tell you, which is, and that's wonderful. If we want to, I hate to break it to you, but I'm gonna do my best. Maybe I'll see if I can do this. First and foremost, you must understand a couple of things. Number one, the average American has no interest whatsoever in anything that we're doing. Nothing. 90%? I'd say it could be 90%. See, we are this really, really elite. When I say elite, it's like elite pool players, elite soccer fans, elite, meaning we're this very kind of a very small group of people. Most people have nothing they don't know anything about what we're doing. Nothing. That's why we have to go in and show them. If Bannon were in the mafia, his name would be Steve the Jacket Bannon. He needs to take care of himself. He's got everything's coming up rosacea. He needs a lot of work. But that's okay. Laura Loomer is like that. I like her spunk, but she just loves to raise hell. She's not happy unless she is pissing somebody off big time. She loves that. It's who she is, and I think there's a place for that as well. But she is not happy. If nobody's mad at her, she thinks, "What the hell am I doing? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing here? That I've got to do something. This is not right. This is not working." But the bottom line is, I got to tell you this: we have to show each other that there's a lot to work with. First, here's this story. So going back to my class, we have our own battalions of journalists, our own people. Forget Maple, forget the think tanks, forget the Cato Institute, and forget this and the Democrat, the Victoria Nuland, the Democracy Endowment or whatever. That is real serious. That spooks. Intel meets State Department's crazy. But we have people. So there are folks here, these crowdsourcers, and all of a sudden, they will come out, and they have an expertise. They will look at something, and they'll say, "I know about this. Why is it?" And this is the question. I'd love to say, can you please tell me, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Schumann, would you tell me why you missed, or does it at all? Did you notice, or do you care, or is there an explanation why you would have these? This would be in a draft, or you showed me basically an email that it looks like you wrote it. Because if somebody sent this to you, you would not have these correction marks. How do you explain that? Don't anybody answer at once. How do you explain it? Let me give you an example. And let me change them. There's a couple of ideas of not the con, but the work. Let me give you an example. I keep saying that. The next time there's an election, a game, anything, let's say, make it simple. Let's say there's 2 choices, or maybe it's the Academy Award. Whatever it is, 5 choices, best picture. You're going to take an envelope, and you're going to put inside the envelope, best picture 1, and you're going to put 5 envelopes with all of the choices. And you're going to hide them. Now, you got to remember where you put them. And let's say you walk over there, and it's The Godfather, 1972, 1974. It's The Godfather. Well, forget that. That's simple. Let's say it's The Joker, something that nobody thought would, something that was weird, or best short animated foreign, whatever it is. Now you put all of the nominees. You've got this one is under the couch. This one's behind the book. So when it comes at night, you can say, you know what's funny? I had a premonition of who would win that night. Jerry, do me a favor. Lift up your couch or your cushion. See that? There's an envelope. Open it up, Jerry. Read it. Oh my God, it's the Garden of Finzi Continis. Remember that? I'll never forget that. I don't know what it was. I never saw it. But I remember one year, the Garden of Finzi Continis won something. How did you know that? Well, there's 5 other envelopes around here, but that's the one I wanted you to look at. Mary Lou Henner has this incredible memory. And she'll say, December the 15th, 2001, yes, I remember the time. I wore a red dress. It was a red smock, and I wore patent leather shoes and an eye jacket and a pince nez. And I had a button that said, Hallelujah, Hollywood. And my nail book. That's incredible. I'm saying, excuse me, how do we know this? This was the obvious thing. How did we know this? How did we know this? The gig is, whatever she says, you have to accept it. I put so I'm doing all of these things, and I say, let's look through how the joke of this is. So as you tell, because by the way, I love to watch magic tricks. Love them. Not the tricks, not the magic. The magic bores me. It's always my favorite is the fake thumb. You put it like this, and you have the thumb here, and you put the kerchief or the whatever it is, and then you put your thumb in here, and then you take it out, and there's a little thumb, but you don't notice it. But it's in there. It's beautiful. That's what it is. That's the way it works. You've got the left media that works in concert with this particular faction of, I guess you would say, the shadow government or whatever. They put out their versions of it because they act, never before have we seen this, they act as the official, how do I say this? They act as the official clearinghouse for whatever. All of the news, Drudge Report, look at the headlines. MAGA crazy. Refers to the bomber in Las Vegas as a MAGA supporter. Sparky says, I was just about to mention rosacea, but he beat me to it. That may be okay except for wanting war with China. Listen, it doesn't matter what he wants. That's why, Sparky, I don't care for people who glorify killing. And when you have all these people, what is this guy's name? His name is John McAfee, yeah. No, not John McAfee. His name is, McPhee, excuse me, John Shrek, McPhee. That's the guy. Now this guy, I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm not saying anything. I'm sure he's legit. This guy is cartoon-like. So what do? The best way to I keep a suit with my blade here, and he's just, look. I'm not saying it's not true, but if you don't see where some guy, and by the way, the kids that we're talking about are the kids that we had are mostly adult men. I was watching the other day, just perusing my YouTube. I'm fascinated by people who pretend to be policemen. Fake lights, fake jackets. Wow. These guys are in their 50s or 60s and they're pulling people over and they're pretending because they want to be. Remember the guy who had the old Ford, like the Interceptor, and he would buy ex-cop cars. They would even have it. They would have that lantern or that floodlight on the side. They wouldn't have any lights, but you could tell it was a cop car, an old cop car. Dave Thomas from SCTV. used to like them because they were, they were built differently. Well, there are some people who love to be, they want to be the soldier. And I have never, I don't know how many, the stories of the Navy SEAL who put down, sounds like he insulted him, but who took out Bin Laden. If somebody told me now, that's all nonsense, I'd say, you know what? I'm not surprised. The whole story doesn't make, why are you walking around? Who ordered him to be, why don't you get the guy who is the architect of worldwide terror? I don't understand this. Who ordered you to do this? Saddam, they did. By the way, did you ever see a picture of Saddam on the slab? Nope. Remember, the story is they don't act heads of state. It's always exile. It's always, anyway, I wouldn't be surprised. I swear to God, nothing makes sense. But to make a long story short, I used to hear this guy, the man who took out, killed SEAL Team 6. And what about all the SEAL Team 6 on that Chinook? Remember that the helicopter crash? Americans don't go anywhere. You can hide anything. Do you ever see a magic trick where you do a magic trick for a kid and you say, hey, would you close that door? And you go, okay, hey, look at that. Or you take something and you throw it behind him and that's America. That's the American public. They fall for anything. You tell them, this is the way it is. This is the way it is. There was a fellow who was, I think, one of the best legal writers. I'm not going to mention his name, and he said, well, according to Fox News, I said, according to Fox News, do you not learn anything? Do you not learn anything? Nothing. It's just incredible. So you have to learn this. So there are people out there, like I said, let me tell you another one. There was a time when there was a certain birth certificate that was under investigation. You might have heard about it. It was in all the news. It was considered one of these crazy conspiracy theories. And somebody who was doing this happened to be I don't know what the word is, a document expert. And he says, I looked at this and they didn't format the final, and this was adjusted, and he saw the little red, boxes. Well, I never heard from this guy again because nobody ever said anything. Sparky says, SEAL Team 6 is nothing. I was in Dolphin Team 7. I was in Bad News Bears. Different story. You know what's also interesting? I'm changing the subject. Have you ever known anybody in your family who was in the military, but in combat? Did you have a father? Did you have an uncle? Because we're World War II, it almost got, but the Korean War. Do you know anybody like that? And you say, Grandpa never mentioned it. You hear about people like that. They come back, they don't like fireworks. Forget dogs, the number of, because they always say dogs during, 4th of July. Veterans just hate that. They're disgusted by it. They don't talk about it. You ever know somebody like that? Hey, Grandpa, did you know? And you always say that. He never mentioned it. He had a friend of his. He'd go to the VFW. He talked to a few people, but he never mentioned it. Grandpa did. Grandpa was saying, nope, he never mentioned it. And he was in the thick of it. There was a fellow that we knew whose father he landed, they always say, landed on Normandy, Omaha Beach. K2Z says, we sure do love our labels in any form. What would we look like if there were no labels? That's a great point. That's a great, great, great point. That's why people who wear monogram shirts always scare me. And that's why Nathan Wade, who had Wade on the barrel of his cuff, I thought, oh my God. Anyway, years ago, there was a fellow, like I told you, their father, whatever, was, I said, okay. Well, lo and behold, I was at one of their houses, ready to go to use their bathroom, and they were waiting. And there was a little shadow box of this guy's medals, his order, I mean, everything. And this little old man, hey, there's me in that noise. But when he was 18, 19, he looked. He had a CIB combat infantry band. I mean, this guy was, and they showed it, and he was legit. And I was just, it took an inordinate amount of time to go in, but I'm reading this. Oh my God. But his look. And he was there. And it wasn't an exaggeration. Well, maybe he was in a support. Well, he was in a Murphy, but no, he was there. All right. And I asked, I said, by the way, I saw the interesting thing about your father. Yes. I said, by the way, did he ever talk about it? He said, never. D-Day, never talked about it. D-Day. Today there'd be, maybe there would be. I don't know, people would say, you want to relive this? Do you want to talk about this all the time? The more who people talk about stuff, there's something weird about that. There's something strange. There's something that doesn't smell right. Now, a lot of times people can say, well, I'm making a lot of money, but it hurts people. To sit there and say, you know that thing you had nightmares about for your whole life? You're now almost 90 years old, and you're having nightmares about something that happened when you were 18, and you relive. You have night terrors. Yeah. How would you like to go on a speaking tour about this? I got this podcast, and you can just tell your stories and have your own friends over. What are you talking about? Yeah, relive it. Take us to. I don't want to talk about that. I can't even say it. But yet, there is this. By the way, Walter Matthau was in The Great Bad Conspiracy, along with, I think it was Tatum O'Neal, wasn't it? The original, the first one was very Honey Coors. By the way, Walter Matthau was a degenerate gambler who owed, I think, his bookie like millions of dollars, and they couldn't, kill him because he owed so much. In any event, that story didn't make any sense to me. Mrs. L will talk to people who have been either victims, one way or the parents, whatever, and it's the most difficult. And if you talk, hey, you can make a lot of money on this, sometimes people can kind of get their. So there's always something weird about this. So here is this guy. Again, let me go back to the Sean Ryan zone. You've got people who are not necessarily the most astute, but I didn't even see this at first because I didn't zoom in. But there's the correction. Have you ever seen, this is my favorite, when you have a semi-automatic and you fire all the rounds in the magazine or whatever. Slide goes back and nothing. It doesn't make any noise. It's like there's nothing, and you got to put a new round there and then hit the safety and goes back and you continue on. But yet on TV here, it's like, what is this clicking noise? It's not a revolver. The sound of the gun, the sound of the. How many times have you heard these fight scenes where there's that noise that. What is that? A metal? It's not authentic. Real stuff, real horror is not the way you think it is. So it took somebody. Anyway, so there's this one guy who's a gunsmith. He said things in movies that are wrong. They loaded this wrong. They did this wrong. Oh, I had a friend of mine one time who was watching ER or Chicago Hope, whatever the hell it was. He says that's going to kill him. He said, why is he doing that? Why is he giving him D5W Ringer's lactate? He said, wait a minute, how do you know the guy? What if he's diabetic? What if he's an anaphylaxis? You don't do that. Check his vitals first. Anyway, doctors would say, you don't do that. And I see it all the time in courtroom stuff. What are you doing? What is this? There's always somebody who decides, we don't need. You know, the movie The Verdict was horrible. It's like, what court is this? And Justice for All, complete fantasy. I mean, there is nothing even remotely real about that. Doesn't matter. It's supposed to be drama. But going back to Shaun White, nobody said, you've got some guy who's eating a sandwich. He says, are those correct? Self-correct? This isn't an email. You let that go? That's the part that kills me. And you were Mr. Precision. You're talking about what weapons to use, and this, the MP4 versus this, the M4, and this, and this. Do you like the dagger? Do you like this? Do you like a grenade? Do you like a fragment of grenade? Do you do this? All this precision. You got your wings and your trident and all this stuff. And somebody said, would you look at this? This doesn't even, some guy in Des Moines in his parents' basement is going to say, this isn't an email. You ever see on TV, the computers you always see on TV? Where is that computer? You ever see that password? Hurry up, get the code word. This is CIA, this password. And it's all phony. And that's the part that gets me. That's the part that gets me. But yet, it inspired this. And there's this one woman who says, she sounded like a nut. And you know what I would do? I would say, oh, please. If I was with DOD or Department of Defense or CIA, whoever it was, I would say, oh, please, somebody have her on. Sean, yeah, have this woman on. Yeah, she's a nut. It's not a limited hangout, but it's like expose somebody. Bring somebody out who, for example, let's assume we're out on Jersey, we're in Edgewater, and there's this team of UAV of drones, okay? And I want people to say, why do we need to know who shot Liberty Valance? The most important part about that John Ford classic is the line, when the legend becomes fact, print the legend. That's what that was about. One of the greatest, and by the way, Lee Marvin was just great. In any event, let's assume it's a fireworks display or whatever, and there's this armada of drones. And I work for the local TV station or whatever it is. I've got a doctor here in his family. I got a lawyer. I got a teacher. I got a regular retired. I got all these normal people. And then I've got this lunatic who's drunk, looks a little high, obviously sheen God, a little crazy. But he saw the same thing. I'm going to interview him. I'm going to put him on. So people are going to say, it didn't happen. No, it happened. But from the great line from SCTV, sure, he's crazy, but what if he's right? Crazy people see things too. Crazy people children can see things. Crazy people can see things. They can see things. Dogs sometimes can react to a burglar if they see the burglar again, whatever. But the point is, discredit it. So when you have these lunatics, they're not crazy, but they get into this where they're siren emojis and this, and I'm going to go and I'm going to blow the lid on this because I know all about Mogadishu and I know about Somalia and I know how we did this and I'm going to tell you and I'm going to whistleblower. Have me on your show. Great, have him on. If that's the representative, have him on. You never heard about Jesse Marcel's son, did you? Jesse Marcel was a fellow at Roswell. Jesse Marcel was the one who stood before this balloon. Well, his son, who was as a young boy, when his father came that night, who worked at Roswell or Groom Lake or wherever it was called at the time, and brought this stuff to his home, this film or whatever that if you crumpled it, it would pop back up. These these pieces with weird writing, and he put it back into the box and took it back. This man's son later on became I think he was a flight surgeon, he was a doctor, he was a physician, I think a helicopter pilot, called back, decorated, never heard from him. He was there, he said, no, I was a kid, my father brought this to me, and my father was a respected, so you never hear about those people. You'll hear the lunatic. You'll hear about the guy who, whatever it is. It's just like I know there are people who believe very devoutly in God. They have a very strong Christian faith. Then there's Kenneth Copeland. And I believe in the name of Holy Jesus, who speaks to me to say, give me your money. Right? Now, he is looked at as a means of discounting the whole notion of Christianity or the legitimacy or the accuracy of there being a God. Same thing with this. So these people who go on, go ahead. And by the way, somebody will call up Sean Ryan. I wouldn't be surprised to say, mission accomplished. Thank you. You just killed that story. Why? Because you got all these sleuths coming and saying this on it for it, and it sounds crazy. They're in this thing, he's reading this stuff about, they're making it sound to me. Now, I don't know. Remember one thing also, I don't know motivation. Does this help the left, hurt the left? Does it help Trump? What is the purpose of this? There was one guy who said he could actually see into the Tesla vehicle and see that this person may have not been with us at the time of the detonation. I don't know if that's true. But what do we take away from that? Now, meanwhile, the fellow who was in New Orleans, we don't even talk about him. We don't talk about the DEI and Alethea and Chantrell or Latoya or whatever her name is. You don't know these. That's over here. The DEI is probably a more important story. So you see where this is going? We're just, and then we got our folks who love to say PSYOP and MK Ultra. There's an unwritten word. You get $5 if you say you work MK Ultra. MK Ultra is not even involved in it. I mean, could be. I don't know, but PSYOP. Is this a psychological operation or is it just bad news? I don't know. It's just like during UAV, they said Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam was holograms. What are you talking about? It's the wrong thing. They know a little. Any kind of weather thing, HARP. Used to say DARPA. I say, storm dirt.
Gotcha.
Let me hang on. So there's this. Meanwhile, the bad guys or city backers saying, this internet's fantastic. Look at them all just yammering and nobody's taking this stuff seriously because you got this and Alex Jones is going to come in. And Alex Jones, I love Alex, but every story is the end of the world. This is over. It's done. This is it. Complete, full flag, full spectrum. But the end of the world. That's it. And the stuff that really should be talked about is what's going on in the UK regarding Pakistanis and Tommy Robinson. And let me tell you something about Elon Musk, okay? God bless Elon Musk. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if Trump would have won this much or he brought a lot of people to the game. And he's a great person to have on our team. And government doesn't work anyway. This thing that we call government. So he can be our own FBI, our own CIA. Let him work for us. The rules have changed. Remember that great hat I saved I bought from a vendor years ago? The rules have changed. It's not the same anymore. Great. Did you see where Tammy Bruce was picked at the State Department? Excellent. Now, as far as her, I don't care about her personally. She is a great spokesperson. You need people who can speak, not like that nincompoop with the bad rug, Corinne. We've had the best ones. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I think, was just so superb. Even McKinnon was good, but not like Sarah. And this is a good move. What is her name now? Trump's Natalie who? Yeah, her. She's fantastic. 33 years old, brilliant, smiles. She exudes confidence. Caroline Levitt, excuse me. Caroline Levitt, love it. So do me a favor, especially you, Bannon and others, as well. Shut up. If you think X is going to a social credit score, would you want not to have Elon Musk? Is that what you're saying? And you know and I know it. You're on the back nine right now. You only get known when you're either being indicted or charged or arrested. You've got to get your name in the news, so to speak. You got to make those trends. Okay? I am never satisfied with anything. But I am very happy that Elon Musk is involved here. Very happy. Where is Vivek? Now we know where JD has some kind of surgery or something. Sign the surgery. That's a bear. That is a bear. But in any event, we'll talk more about this. But just remember, focus on what we know. Don't get sucked into the PSYOP, MK Ultra. Okay, this thing's going to be over because there's always a new twist to it. We have right now 15 days until the election. The inauguration, 15 days. Be very careful. They don't do anything to destroy them, to disrupt anything. That's why, as I have told you repeatedly, dear and great friends, I've said this to the point of exhaustion. But when I talk about preparewithlionel.com and having food and generators and water filtration and emergency radios that are solar powered or hand cranked, I'm not kidding. It's not a joke. It's not something I'm just making up. And one more thing, and I'm going to say this again. MyPillow.com is our good friend Mike Lindell, and he is absolutely, positively a gem. And they have tried to destroy him, but we're not going to let that happen. It just so happens he also sells the greatest linens and towels and pillows and slippers that you can imagine. All right, dear friends, we're going to stop with that right now. Oh, let me also say, just a minute. Sparky says, people have psychotic breaks overnight. They wake up and suddenly they're schizophrenic. Can something similar be induced on purpose with a drug to discredit or use someone? I don't know. I'm sure it has been. People have, funny, psychotic breaks. Schizophrenia is usually prototypically seen people in their 20s or it's early onset, and it's just, when you have that once, it's not good. And I don't know. I don't know if, remember, I can give you 5, 6 different scenarios as to what happened in Las Vegas. You could pick, and don't say Occam's razor, but don't be surprised if sometimes, as I say, Sparky, during the case, remember during the McVeigh thing, Oklahoma City, when people were saying, we're going to go and we're going to find the country that did this. And he said, we did it. What? We did it. We did it. Yeah. You mean that? No. And I'm sure in the phone, Muhammad, was that you? No, Ahmed. I thought it was you. No, I don't know anything about it. No. I think they did it. Who? They did it. By the way, you will never know. You will never. I cannot believe the total disinterest in Oklahoma City. Nothing. There's no. But when you've got Timothy McVeigh, they're saying, oh, I did it all right, but remember when Jack Ruby, get me out of here. It's fascinating. The information that the oh my God. You know who does a good job on that? Corbett, James Corbett, does a wonderful view of the facts. But nobody's. Imagine if we had a lottery and nobody bought a ticket, or nobody checked their ticket, or nobody cared. You can say, this is $50 million or whatever. That's what this is. This is the greatest story in the world. I'm not interested. What do you mean? Nah. That's where we are. We're not drawn to it. We're not, it's the strangest thing in the world. We are not drawn to it. Now, dear, let me ask you a couple of questions. I want to ask you a big favor, which is very important. what we're doing is important, and that we're doing is obviously critical. And you being a part of this makes it so rewarding because you allow me the chance to give you kind of a different, dare I say, perspective on it. A different kind of a perspective because I'm not the usual type. I'm not the usual whatever you want to call it. I'm just not. I have a more of a I don't know what you want to say. More of a kind of a weird version of it. I want you to do this is Mrs. L's YouTube right here. Just this is it right here, and I want you to promise me immediately, right now, that you go and just sign up. Just subscribe. The information is incredible. The interviews are incredible. I'm telling you, it's like there is this. Nobody is doing this information. It's always loud and ringing the bell. Remember those phony balloons a while back? Hey, this guy's great. Former SEAL Team 6, Delta Force, they would go into foreign countries. No. No foreign countries. Stay here. They would rappel from helicopters. No. Did you ever hear that story? Whatever happened to that? I don't know. Remember that? Sound of freedom or whatever? That's it. It's happening here. The things that are happening in this country, nobody's talking. To Americans, it'll blow your mind. But for some reason, it gets lost. So she has devoted herself. So I'm going to do it one more time. This is the link right here. Well, Mrs. L's birthday's coming up. We got big plans. All she wants to get into the new realm. We want to have her here 10,000. Isn't that something? What she wants to spread the word. She got a birthday coming up. I didn't want to bring that up, but that's coming up. I'll let you know. We'll have a big to do with that. So do me a favor. Nothing says love and like something from the oven. I don't know what that means, why I said that. But right now, that's the link right now. Okay? You got it? Okay. So to all of our friends, and I thank you to Sparky and Sam Whiskey and KZZ and let me see here. KZZ, it's Sparky. Andrew Essing, but they bring up, don't forget Greenland and Denmark. Spandex, Brian or Brizen Himura, thank you for your incredible perspective. So follow Mrs. L. She's got a birthday coming up. Okay?
What up, Red?
What's up, bro?
What's going on?
How's it going?
I'm done spending it on
It's going well.
I'm getting back on track with Fact Ticker. Fresh.
What are you doing?
Just jumped on Clubhouse for today and seeing what everyone's up to, what's going on.
This is the CIA speaking. Do you have anything to contribute to our information gathering operation?
Maybe. Let me think.
Divulge your deepest secrets.
My deepest secrets. I'm not a big secret keeping guy, but
Then you're useless.
well, I'm a Iraq war
True love of
Atkins Way, going strong these days. Lots of people losing weight here. Hey, Rob, check out my new Bravo body. Nice. Now you gotta stay strong.
Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
Observe the corporate mail. One can spot signs of shrimping, spine uncomfortably pulled in a position that causes strain on his vertebral column. And here, his mate. A prime example of good posture, who makes use of an ergonomically designed and fully adjustable chair, all for a price that's remarkably humane. Branch.
He's catching it.
Second time. You sure they must be the hottest? Hottest women in town. Must be either incredibly peaceful and or horribly boring. Must be either incredibly peaceful and or horribly boring. Jesus Christ, Mark, you are fucking boring, bro. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what is your shtick? Like, what's your game? I mean, what do you believe in? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Mark, have you ever been to Scarborough Fair?
What's that?
I said, have you ever been to Scarborough Fair?
No, I don't think I have.
You probably don't know what that is a reference to, do you? You don't even know what that is. I know you don't know what it is. Do you think you're pretty smart, Mark?
I don't know. People tell me I am.
So you think you are based on what people tell you? You don't know?
No.
Do you know where you came from?
My ancestry. I'm Scottish.
No, it's like a trick question, meaning you came from brilliance, you will return to brilliance, and therefore you're brilliant. You don't see how that works? It's like a Zen metaphor, basically. It's not a pun, though. But this song, Scarborough Fair, deals with enchantment or 4 elements: parsley, sage, rosemary, and wine. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. These are instruments for divination or illumination. But it's just like neo-paganism, basically. Simon and Garfunkel did the song. This is Sarah Brightman. So, in terms of abiogenesis now, creation of whatever abio is, it's always in the now.
So my dad stopped paying for car insurance.
So what are you doing the rest of the day, Mark?
Apparently 80%.
Oh, I don't know. You're getting an ad there.
What are you going to do the rest of the day? Chicken pot pie.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. Here once was a true love of mine.
Do you play any musical instruments, Mark?
I used to play the violin when I was in high school.
That's cool. I have a violin or a fiddle now, but I can't figure out. It has like a wax, can with it. I guess I have to like wax or whatever it's called, the stick with the horsehair. But it's so hard. The wax is.
It's not that hard. You just brush it a few times. It's a special sort of a bar, and it's almost like you're just applying deodorant or whatever to your arm. You just sort of just brush it across.
Do you have to like warm the wax up or whatever, or is my wax like old because it's very hard?
No, it's supposed to be that way. You just brush it across. I don't know if it's a method of like a few slower strokes, but just one or two. One or two passes is fine.
Okay, I got to try it. Anyways, I don't want to. I mean, I'm gonna play this song. I don't know if you want to listen to it. I don't want to like bother your room anymore if you're trying to get answers for your.
Well, if you can actually have a conversation instead of being a weird jackass, then maybe we can actually talk, and you don't have to play music.
But I kind of want to play music, so I mean, maybe I'll just leave and create my own room because I don't want to. If you're looking for people that want to have an in-depth conversation about abiogenesis,
you can't actually have a actual in-depth intellectual conversation.
I can, but do you want to talk about abiogenesis? I mean, I can talk for just a few minutes. What do you want to talk? Tell me what abiogenesis is, in your opinion.
Well, I don't want to go with what my opinion is. I want to go with what the definition is.
Okay.
What the definition of what abiogenesis is is life coming from
triggered about the opinion question. Just tell me your opinion. It's not my opinion.
How did that process occur?
I'm sorry. Were you saying something, Mark? So, I mean, right in the beginning when I said, tell me what your opinion is, and you immediately said, well, it's not my opinion. This is the evidence and the information regarding it. So you're telling me the facts.
I didn't say the evidence. I said this is what the definition is. The definition is abiogenesis is life coming from non-life.
Okay, so in terms of like particle physics, metaphysics, or just energy, I mean, isn't life a product? You know, this is like Taoistic thinking. Isn't life a product of nothing, or something is from nothing? I mean, that's the belief that there's this dark matter energy, which is responsible.
No, not at all. From the loose definition of life, it's hard to really say because we're able to see what organisms are on this planet. We're able to see what those things are, but the loose definition of life is self-replicating organisms, some kind of a self-replicating DNA, RNA process at its essence. And rocks don't do this. So rocks aren't called alive or are life as we understand it. It's not biological in nature. But viruses are sort of in that gray area, which is to say, like, are viruses alive? They don't self-replicate. They have to have already living organisms in order for them to self-replicate. And therefore, it's harder to say, is the working definition of life that we have right now mapped out, or is it fully descriptive of what is happening in that process? But again, going back to the essence of life without getting too complicated, self-replicating organism, DNA organism. If you want the actual definition, I guess I'll look to dictionary for the specific definition. But I'm trying to lay down the groundwork of what is an actual definition.
Yeah. I mean, most people won't take the time to, like, you know, do the glossary before the conversation. But, you know, I've heard it said that the rocks do come alive. But really, I think that's just in terms of physics that, you know, mountains, rocks, diamonds, very dense concentrations of atoms. So how can a rock come alive? I mean, look at the Earth. The belief is that we came out of the Earth, that there is no Jehovah creator, that if there is a Jehovah creator, it's the universe responsible for generating the Earth. and then the earth created the earth peoples in the same way that an apple tree apples. Can you believe that? Like that is a plausible chain of succession?
Well, you kind of, I don't know, use some weird words there in the end there or whatever. So I think without really making it too complicated, it is either that the life came from natural means, i.e. like naturally, through natural processes, or did it come about through supernatural processes? And it's not to say there isn't a God, because maybe there still is a God that created the universe, that made all these mechanisms. It's just a different way of looking at what this God would be. It's not limiting. It doesn't contradict that there could be a God. It's just that there could be this God, and the complexity of the universe is the way that it is. Abiogenesis is the way that it is. Life and stuff like that, the part is the way it is. Evolution is what is. All those can all be true. We're still so in essence, what we're basically saying, or what really we get down to, is did life start abiogenesis via a natural process or a supernatural process? And so far, all the evidence that we have points to a natural process through the universe.
So what?
The universe gave rise, as you say, the universe gave rise from wherever it came from. An earth formed, and then the earth formed people. That's stupid to say that earth formed life in abiogenesis, and then that life changed over time, what we understand, and then from that change of all the differences of life, then there became what we call Homo sapiens, or this species on this planet, us humans.
Yeah. Going back to like the universe equation to create the earth, so the earth can create the equations to produce this present state now, and the amount of time that it takes for the equations to work out, in some type of decentralized or even disorganized development over time. I mean, you could look at the birds and the flowers and the bees and the squirrels, and how it's like a biological mechanism for development, generation, creation. The book of Genesis, the word Genesis is a river in Italy that Caesar crossed over, called the Genesis. And it's the act of doing, going, creating. Same story with Abraham. Same thing with the word God, go do. So is there like a subconscious intelligence related to abiogenesis? Is there an X factor of intelligence? And I think that most magicians or supernationalists or supernaturalists or something, like, there's still this X factor that you can't really, it just recedes. I've heard it said that God recedes. So it's like you can't catch that X factor. It's that genie in the bottle, spirit in the machine, ghost in the machine. So like, what is that? And how do you deal with the X factor in terms of like your everyday life? Because to me, the wraparound with regards to philosophical, theosophical, religious conversation is, okay, well, we had the conversation, but what in that information is useful to me for living a better life, I suppose?
Yeah, I have no idea. You said a whole lot of weird stuff there. I imagine the way that I deal with, I guess, whatever that you're saying is that if there's an assumption, some kind of a presumed belief without any sort of evidence, reason, or justification for it, that there's a mind or a creator behind abiogenesis. Well, the way I deal with that is I just look at it and I go, oh, well, that's just an assumption. I wouldn't want to assume that, and I don't think anyone else would want to assume that there is anything more to what's going on unless there's evidence for it. And so we do have the natural around us. So it looks like all the evidence is there for the way abiogenesis has been the case. And it looks like we have strong evidence. There's a scientific paper that's just come out that looks like it's pretty definitive that life started on this planet through the process that we understand in the Muriel experiment. And then therefore, we can conclude easily that this is a natural explanation. We don't have to go to any assumptions to say that there was a mind or an intelligence behind any of this stuff, especially the universe or anything like that. This would all just be religious assumptions and philosophy, really, at that point, which isn't what science really deals with anyway. So, but at the moment that we want to go into that realm to think about the philosophical ideas about there being this mind or something outside of the universe, that would have to still be proven or shown via some kind of evidence or philosophical argument, and we haven't really successfully done anything like that. No human has really been able to really show that that's the case definitively. And philosophically, we get into sort of like, you want to get into a really interesting sort of logical battle. If you want to make a case for something, you're going to have to sort of follow the rules of philosophy, I guess, as we've got it. So,
But I mean, in terms of the glossary and defining words, would you agree that the word philosophy means the love of wisdom, I guess the love of wisdom? Is that the technical definition of the word philosophy?
I guess yeah.
Or the awe of God? God being the all or the universe?
I don't know about that. Maybe you're adding that in. I don't.
I mean,
remember reading that as a definition.
In Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius says that, God is all, or all God, which is like God, Father, Father, God, universe, the totality of reality expanding into basically infinity.
Here we'll go with the actual definition, not one that you added in or made up there. Noun, the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline.
So it's like the commodification of nature and the knowledge of it.
I guess if you want to use strange language, it's a way of analyzing and looking at the totality of information and trying to understand it or quantify it in some way, I guess.
That's why I say
philosophy's never been
commodification.
my big forte there, but yeah, gathering it together or analyzing it and sort of scrutinizing it. Yeah.
Again, it deals with knowledge of nature in an academic setting. That's the first sentence you use.
Definition. That is the actual definition for philosophy: the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline.
Got it. So in terms of the glossary, we have to agree that philosophy is in the context of an academic environment, correct?
No, that's just the definition of philosophy. If you are saying to use philosophy, or if you're purporting to exercise it, you want to make sure it's a sort of a discipline or sort of there's a process to it. And as far as we know, the very basics, I'm a very basic philosopher, I guess. I'm just an armchair. I just study this stuff on, never taken any real courses on this or anything, but it's definitely fucking interesting. So.
Okay. Well, I've read a lot of philosophy books. I have 1,000 books in my house. I'm staring at hundreds of books. Philosophy.
Yeah, and I don't don't think it's like anybody can't do this. I think everybody does it. Like I think everybody does philosophy in their daily life. It's sort of just how is a person sort of gathering what they know about existence, reality, and knowledge, and applying it in their daily lives and as a whole. But then the academic part really just means what can we really gather about the totality of this, not just from a person's personal view, but like together. And this is where big sort of philosophical arguments are made for or against things. And then they're done in a particular way. You have to have a structure to it and all that. I'm probably sure you're aware of it. And if you're going to make an argument about a thing, you make sure that it's structured and it has to have sort of a conclusion to it. And if you don't have any of that, then whatever that you're just saying in a chat room or telling people doesn't ever need to be taken seriously, especially if you're going to go into a philosophical argument about a thing and you just say it without ever really supporting it in a real rigorous way, in a real substantial way. And most people in your daily life don't ever need for that to happen. But here, on these sort of platforms, these are where people like myself are going to hold you accountable. If you're going to make a claim that there's a God or there's a mind behind the universe, then we're going to ask you to demonstrate that and wait for that information to come around. And if it doesn't, the community as a whole, humanity as a whole, is still left with any real, actual evidence or philosophical argument for the existence of God. Now, it's not to conclude there is no God. It's just to say that people such as yourself who do believe there is a God are just full of shit all the time. They just will say these sort of things and never really back them up, never really give any actual evidence. And then if we don't get any actual physical evidence, then we back up into what other kind of evidence do you have for a God? Well, it's always philosophical.
Well, let me ask you this.
It's always philosophical.
I mean, you're saying a lot. You accuse me of saying a lot and using a lot of, words.
It's always philosophical in nature. And then if we don't get any actual evidence or some kind of a philosophical argument, then we're left with what else do we have other than a person who's just saying things that are hot air, right? So.
Got it. Hot air, which is essentially just bullshit, is what you're saying. So my question to you is, would you accept as evidence for the hypothesis of God a butterfly and a magnifying, glass, or what are those things called in science? Not a telescope, but a microscope. Would you accept a butterfly and a microscope as sufficient evidence to point towards a creator of intelligence, a great grand designer?
No, because you would have to make that connection.
Okay, but the point of the microscope and the butterfly is to do an examination of the butterfly to determine if there is some connection between an eternal creator that is responsible for auto-generating this butterfly. That's not a sufficient scientific experiment or method or process of approach to determine whether or not there's an original creator or some type of higher power or intelligence.
No, how could it be?
Because
give me that connection on how it could be.
It's just a very simple yes or no question. Whether or not.
Well, no, you need to give some reasoning on how or where that connection is, because otherwise my default is no. Clearly, as I said, I don't have any reason to believe what you're saying. You're going to have to give that link and support why that would be the case.
Okay, it's a trick question, because it really deals with psychology, not with actual observable, scientific methodology. It really deals with who you are within. And this is like the root essence of philosophy and all religious systems. It's truly a system of self-development or self-analysis, self-reflection, self-expansion, self-minimization, meaning that the self in psychology is the essence of religious philosophy. It always deals with self. And that's the secret within occult sciences, that in terms of knowing who you are, where you came from, and where you will return, is basically a way of catharsis, or knowing that there's not a speck of dust out of place in the whole universe. That is what philosophy and all world religions teach, all of them. And I only know this because I have spent enough time being an armchair philosopher, reading these books, discussing these concepts to try to boil it down to essential elements, which in many ways, because this is just an audio word exchange app or a transcript exchange app, you'll notice the surrounding environment, which is always emotional, emotional wavelengths. And so what I'm just trying to say is, health, wealth, love, peace of mind, happiness, and strength. I don't know, to talk endlessly about God, and not just like exchange, I guess what you could say is flattery. It's like, what are you trying to achieve by doing these tests on this app, by creating rooms?
Well, remember, you brought it up. That was the words you said. You said something in your language, and I just addressed it with something about, you were suggesting a mind or something behind abiogenesis or behind life or something like that. And I imagine that was what you were implying, and you didn't refute it necessarily. But yeah, you brought it up. So if you don't want to talk about it.
No, I mean, my point is like, if I were a consultant, I would ask you, what are your goals and objectives? So like, what are your goals and objectives by using the Clubhouse app?
Tell them to make me a cambric shoot. Parsley, sage, rosemary.
Ideas or arguments or anything else to talk about or bring up?
Yeah, I mean, are you happy?
And time, without no seam nor needle.
You can't answer that one, can you?
He'll be a true love of mine. Tell him to find me an angel. Parsley, sage, rosemary.
He keeps it. Mark couldn't take it anymore.
Between the salt water and the sea strands, then he'll be a true love of
Scarborough Fair. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. He once was a true love of mine. Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. He once was a true love of mine. Tell him to make me a Cambridge root. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Without no seam nor needlework, then he'll be a true love of mine. Tell him to find me an acre of land. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Between the salt water and the sea strand, then he'll be a true love of mine.
Nothing will satisfy these men. Dribblers, toddlers, toddlers.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Yesterday, those memories in time. Remember me to one wondrous day. She once was a true love of mine. Tell her to think back on the younger days. Yesterday, those memories in time. And see yonder crossroads where we parted ways. And she'll be a true love of mine. Yesterday, those memories in time. For there she'll find the heart's true desire. And she'll be the true love of Tell her to come to the old tree. Yesterday, those memories.
Imagine a financial app that lets you spend, save, and invest like never before.